The village of Ashford Ridge sits in a valley surrounded by ancient forests, where fog rolls in every evening like a living thing for 300 years. The people here have lived under a curse. Every full moon they must offer tribute to the creatures in the dark woods. Blood, always blood. Tonight the moon hangs full and red in the October sky. Elena Morrison stands at her bedroom window watching torches gather in the town square. She's 23 years old, dark hair falling past her shoulders, green eyes that have seen too much sorrow for someone so young. Her hands tremble as she fastens the cloak around her shoulders. Tonight is different. Tonight the village council has decided they can no longer afford the tribute. For generations Ashford Ridge has survived by offering 1 pint of blood from 10 volunteers each full moon. The blood is placed in silver bowls at the forest's edge, and by morning the bowls are always empty. In return, the creatures leave the village alone. No attacks, no deaths, just the monthly price of survival. But 3 months ago, as sickness swept through the valley, half the population fell ill, including most of the young and healthy who usually volunteered. Tonight there aren't enough people strong enough to give blood. The council met for 3 days, arguing behind closed doors. Some wanted to skip the tribute and hope for mercy. Others suggested offering livestock instead, but everyone knows the truth. The creatures want human blood, and nothing else will satisfy them. Elena heard the arguments from outside the council, Chambers pressing her ear to the old oak door. Her father, Thomas Morrison, leads the council, his voice carried through the wood heavy with defeat. We don't have a choice. If we don't give them what they want, they'll take it themselves. And they won't stop at a few pints. Old Margaret Chen, the village healer, had a different idea. There's another way. The old texts speak of it, a full sacrifice. 1 person gives everything, and the village is protected for a generation. The room fell silent. Elena's heart stopped. She knew what that meant, 1 life for 30 years of peace. It's barbaric, her father said. We're not murderers. We're already sacrificing people slowly, Margaret replied. This way at least it's a choice, and it buys us time to find another solution. That's when Elena made her decision. She didn't wait for the council to ask for volunteers. She didn't give them a chance to draw lots or debate who should go. She simply walked into the council chambers and said 3 words, "I'll do it." Now 2 days later she stands at her window watching the village prepare for what they think is her funeral. They don't know she has a plan. The creatures in the forest aren't mindless beasts. They're vampires led by an alpha whose name is spoken only in whispers, Lucian Thorne. And vampires, Elena has learned from Margaret's ancient books, can make deals. The town square fills with people as the sun sets. Every family in Ashford Ridge has come to witness Elena's sacrifice. Some cry openly. Others stand in respectful silence. A few look away, unable to face what they're allowing to happen. Elena's mother died when she was 10, taken by the same fever that swept through the valley back then. Her father raised her alone, teaching her to be strong, to think for herself, to never accept injustice. Thomas Morrison stands apart from the crowd, his face carved from stone. He hasn't spoken to Elena since she volunteered, not because he's angry, but because he doesn't trust himself to speak without breaking. Mayor Richard Foster steps onto the platform in the square's center. He's a portly man of 50, with a voice that carries across the crowd. Tonight, we honor Elena Morrison, who has chosen to save us all. Her sacrifice will protect Ashford Ridge for a generation. We will never forget her courage. The crowd murmurs agreement, but Elena sees the guilt in their eyes. They're relieved it's not them or their children. They're grateful and ashamed in equal measure. Elena walks through the parting crowd toward the platform. She's dressed in white, as tradition demands, the color of purity, the color of sacrifice. But under the white dress she's wearing her riding boots and has a silver dagger strapped to her thigh. She's not going as a lamb to slaughter. Margaret Chen waits at the platform's edge with a silver goblet. The old woman's hands shake as she offers it to Elena. Drink this. It will make the end painless. Elena takes the goblet but doesn't drink. Instead, she pours it onto the ground. The crowd gasps. I'm not going to die tonight, Elena says clearly. I'm going to negotiate. The square erupts in confused voices. Thomas pushes through the crowd. Elena, what are you doing? Making a different deal, she responds. The vampires have taken our blood for 300 years. Maybe it's time we ask what they want in exchange. You can't negotiate with monsters. Mayor Foster sputters. They're not monsters, Elena says. They're predators. And predators understand bargaining. Before anyone can stop her, Elena walks toward the forest path. The crowd falls silent. No one has ever walked willingly into the dark woods. Those who tried to hunt the vampires never returned. But Elena Morrison is not hunting. She's offering herself, yes, but on her own terms. The forest swallows her whole within minutes. The ancient trees block out the moonlight, leaving only patches of silver between the branches. The path is narrow, barely visible, marked by stones that glow faintly in the dark. If you're enjoying this incredible story, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That's the only way you'll be notified when a new video drops. And leave in the comments what city you're watching from. That way we'll know how far our stories are reaching. The deeper Elena goes, the colder it gets. Her breath mists in front of her face. The sounds of the village fade until all she hears is her own heartbeat and the crunch of leaves under her boots. She's been walking for 20 minutes when she feels the presence of something watching. Not one thing, many things. The vampires are all around her, hidden in shadows and trees. She can't see them, but she feels their eyes like physical weight on her skin. Elena stops in a small clearing where moonlight breaks through the canopy. She raises her voice, surprised by how steady it sounds. "I'm Elena Morrison from Ashford Ridge. I've come to speak with Lucian Thorne." Silence, then movement in the darkness. Shapes that could be shadows or could be something more. A voice speaks from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You should not have come here, little human." "I came of my own will," Elena responds. "I'm offering my blood, yes, but I want to negotiate terms." Laughter echoes through the trees, harsh, mocking laughter from multiple throats. "The tribute is not negotiable. It has been the law for 3 centuries. "Then maybe it's time for a new law," Elena says. Her hand moves to the dagger at her thigh. "I'm worth more alive than dead, and I think your alpha knows it." The laughter stops. The temperature drops another 10 degrees. Frost forms on the leaves around Elena's feet. When the voice speaks again, it's different, closer, dangerous. "You dare to tell us what our alpha knows?" "I dare to ask him directly," Elena says. She's terrified, but she forces her chin up, her shoulders back. "Send me to Lucian Thorne or kill me now. Either way, you're not getting your monthly tribute without a conversation." More silence. Elena counts her own heartbeats, 30, 40, 50. Then a figure steps out of the shadows ahead. He's tall, at least 6'3", with black hair that falls to his shoulders and eyes that gleam red in the moonlight. He's dressed in clothes from another century, a long coat, high boots, a white shirt open at the throat. His face is beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful, sharp, perfect, deadly. "You're either very brave or very foolish," the vampire says. His voice is like velvet over steel. "I'm Elena Morrison and you're not Lucian Thorne." The vampire's lips curve into a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "No, I'm Marcus II, and you've just bought yourself an audience with the Alpha. Whether you survive it is another matter." Marcus moves like liquid shadow, impossibly fast. One moment he's 10 feet away, the next he's beside Elena, inhaling deeply near her throat. "Your blood smells of fear and determination. Interesting combination, don't touch me," Elena says, hand tight on her dagger. Marcus laughs. "That little blade won't save you here, but it shows spirit. The Alpha appreciates spirit." He gestures toward the darker part of the forest. "Follow me, stay close. There are things in these woods worse than vampires." Elena follows Marcus deeper into the forest. The trees grow taller, more twisted. The moonlight barely penetrates here. Strange sounds echo around them, not animal sounds but something else. Something that makes her skin crawl. "What else lives here?" Elena asks. Marcus glances back. "Things that serve the Alpha. Things that were human once, things that are better left undiscussed. We're almost there." They emerge into another clearing, but this one is different. At its center stands a mansion that shouldn't exist. It's enormous, built of black stone that seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. Gothic architecture with towering spires and stained glass windows that glow with internal light. Gardens surround it, somehow flourishing despite the perpetual darkness. Roses bloom in impossible colors, black, deep purple, blood red. "Welcome to Thornywood Estate," Marcus says, "the Alpha's home for the past 400 years. "It's beautiful," Elena whispers despite herself. "It's a prison," Marcus corrects. "For all of us. Remember that when you negotiate with him, he may offer you things that sound like gifts. They're always chains." Before Elena can ask what he means, the mansion's front doors swing open. Light spills out, and with it comes music. A piano playing something haunting and beautiful. Inside, the mansion is even more impossible. The entry hall has a ceiling that rises 3 stories, with a crystal chandelier that casts rainbow light across marble floors. Paintings line the walls, centuries of art. Some Elena recognizes from history books, a Rembrandt, a Da Vinci, a Vermeer. "All originals stolen or bought?" Elena asks. Collected, Marcus says. "The Alpha has lived many lifetimes. He appreciates beauty, that's why he'll be interested in you." They walk through corridors that seem to shift and change. Elena could swear they passed the same painting twice, but from different angles. The music gets louder, drawing them toward a set of double doors at the hall's end. Marcus stops. "Beyond this door is the Alpha. I'll warn you, once Lucian Thorne hasn't spoken directly to a human in over a century. The fact that he's agreed to see you means something. Don't waste this chance and don't lie to him. He can hear your heartbeat, he'll know." Elena nods, her mouth dry. Marcus opens the doors. The room beyond is a library that would make scholars weep. Books cover every wall from floor to ceiling, thousands of volumes in dozens of languages. A fire burns in a massive stone fireplace, casting dancing shadows, and at the room's center, seated at a grand piano, is the Alpha himself. Lucian Thorne doesn't look like a monster. He looks like a fallen angel. He's tall and lean, with aristocratic features that could have been carved by a master sculptor. His hair is dark auburn, tied back with a black ribbon. He's wearing period clothing like Marcus. Butis is more refined, a black velvet coat with silver embroidery, a white silk shirt, leather gloves. When he looks up from the piano, his eyes are not red like Marcus's, they're silver, pure silver like moonlight captured in ice. Elena Morrison, he says, his voice like dark honey, the girl who walks into death as if it were a dinner party. He stands moving with inhuman grace. Tell me, what makes you think you can negotiate with someone who could kill you with a thought? Because if you wanted me dead, I would be already. Elena responds, forcing her voice steady. You let me walk into your forest. You sent Marcus to bring me here. You're curious, and curious means willing to listen. Lucian's lips curve into a genuine smile. The expression transforms his face from beautiful to devastating. I haven't been curious about a human in decades. You're right, I am listening. Speak your terms. My village can't afford the monthly tribute anymore. Elena begins. Too many are sick, too many are weak. If we try to give blood, people will die. We need a different arrangement. The Alpha walks closer. He moves like a predator, each step purposeful, and you think offering yourself is the solution? One life for 30 years apiece. That's what the old texts say. Lucian stops 3 feet from her. This close, Elena can see that his skin has no pores, no imperfections. It's like looking at a statue that somehow breathes. The texts are correct. One full sacrifice would bind the covenant for a generation, but I don't want your death. Elena's carefully prepared arguments stumble. You don't. Lucian circles her slowly, examining hair like a painting he's considering for his collection. Death is quick. Boring blood is just sustenance. What I've wanted for 300 years is far more interesting. What Elena turns to follow his movement, refusing to be intimidated. Lucian stops in front of her, silver eyes boring into hers. I want someone who chooses to be here, someone intelligent enough to converse with, someone brave enough to challenge me. I want a companion, Elena Morrison, not a victim. The words hit Elena like a physical blow. You want me to stay here, live here? Lucian nods. 7 years, give me 7 years of your life and I'll release Ashford Ridge from the blood covenant forever. You'll live as my guest, not my prisoner. You'll have freedom of the manor and grounds. You'll dine with me, debate with me, keep me company in my eternal boredom. In return, your village goes free. Elena's mind races 7 years instead of death, the village saved forever. It sounds too good to be true. What's the catch? The catch, Lucian says, walking to a side table to pour 2 glasses of wine, is that 7 years with me will change you. You'll see the world through immortal eyes. You'll learn things humans aren't meant to know. And when you return to your village, you won't fit there anymore. You'll be caught between 2 worlds belonging to neither. Elena takes the wine glass he offers, noting her hand only shakes slightly. Why me? Why not any of the others who could volunteer? Lucian sits in a high-backed chair near the fire, gesturing for Elena to sit opposite him. Because you didn't volunteer out of desperation or martyrdom. You volunteered and then demanded to negotiate. That takes a particular kind of mind, the kind I haven't encountered in a very long time. What happens after 7 years, Elena asks. Do you just let me go? I give you my word, Lucian says. At the end of 7 years, you walk away free. I'll provide you with wealth enough to live comfortably anywhere you choose. You'll have knowledge and education beyond your wildest dreams, but you'll never truly be human again, not in the way you understand it now. Elena sips the wine. It's the best thing she's ever tasted. Rich and complex with flavors she can't name, and if I refuse. Then you return to your village tonight unharmed, Lucian says, but the blood covenant continues. Next month, when you have no one strong enough to give tribute, I and my coven will come to collect it ourselves. We'll take what we need from whoever we find. Children, elderly, sick, we don't discriminate when we're hungry. Elena's stomach turns. That's not much of a choice. Lucian's expression doesn't change. Life rarely offers fair choices, only necessary ones. You have until the moon reaches its zenith to decide. That gives you 3 hours. Can I see what my life would be like here? Elena asks. If I agree, what exactly would I be agreeing to? Lucian stands a reasonable request. Come. He leads her from the library through more impossible corridors. The mansion seems to exist outside normal space. Some rooms have windows showing daytime scenes despite it being night. Outside, others have no windows at all, lit by floating orbs of pale light. This would be your room, Lucian says, opening a door. Elena steps inside and gasps. The room is larger than her entire house in the village. A 4-poster bed dominates the center. Drape it in midnight blue silk bookshelves. Line one wall. A writing desk sits by a window overlooking gardens that glow with bioluminescent flowers. A door leads to a private bathroom with a copper tub big enough to swim in. It's beautiful, Elena whispers. It's a cage, Lucian says quietly. Make no mistake, this manor is bound by ancient magic. Those who dwell here cannot leave unless I permit it. You would be my guest, yes, but also my captive. The 7 years must be served in full without exception. Elena turns to face him. Why do you need a companion so badly? Why not turn someone into a vampire? Then you'd have company forever. Something flickers across Lucian's perfect face, pain quickly hidden. I cannot create new vampires. The magic that made me what I am also cursed me. Any human I attempt to turn dies in agony instead of transforming. I've tried 3 times over the centuries. 3 deaths I carry on my conscience. I won't attempt a 4th then. Why not find another vampire to keep you company? Elena presses. Lucian walks to the window looking out at his impossible gardens. Other vampires bore me. They're driven by hunger and base instincts. The few intelligent ones are scattered across the world. Too proud and territorial to coexist, I am alone by nature of what I am. And loneliness, Miss Morrison, is a special kind of torture when you have eternity to endure it. Elena feels an unexpected pang of sympathy. She pushes it away. He's a vampire, a monster who's held her village hostage for 3 centuries. Show me more, she says. What else would my life here include over the next 2 hours? Lucian gives Elena a tour of Thornwood Estate. He shows her the library with its 100,000 volumes in 50 languages, the music room with instruments from every era and culture, the observatory with a telescope that can see stars invisible to mortal eyes, the gardens where impossible plants bloom in eternal night. He shows her the dining hall where she would take meals, real food, not blood. The Alpha doesn't need to eat human food, but he enjoys it, a remnant of his mortal life. He shows her the portrait gallery where paintings of his past companions hang. Elena stops at one, a woman with kind eyes and a sad smile painted 200 years ago. Who was she? Catherine, Lucian says quietly. A scholar who stayed with me for 10 years willingly. She left to marry and live a normal life. I attended her funeral 50 years later. She was 93 and surrounded by great-grandchildren. She lived well, but she wrote me a letter before she died. It said the 10 years here were the most real of her entire life. Everything after felt pale by comparison. Is that what you do to people? Elena asks. Make the real world seem dim. I show them truth. Lucian says the world is more than humans know. More beautiful and more terrible. Once you see it clearly, the veil can never be replaced. They return to the library as the moon approaches its zenith. Marcus waits there, his expression unreadable. Time grows short, the Alpha says. What is your decision, Elena Morrison? Elena looks at the vampire lord standing before her. She thinks of her village, of her father, of the life she's known. Then she thinks of the children who would die if she refused. The sick who would be drained in their beds. The future that would be nothing but fear and sacrifice. I have conditions, Elena says. Lucian raises an eyebrow. Bold, state them. First, I want to send letters home, once a month, to let my father know I'm alive and well. Granted. Second, I want books, not just to read but to study. If I'm giving you 7 years, I want to learn everything I can. Languages, history, science, philosophy. Everything your library contains. Lucian's lips curve into a pleased smile. Granted, that will make our time together far more interesting. Third, Elena continues, her voice strengthening. I want your word that Ashford Ridge will never be harmed by you or your coven. Not during my 7 years and not after. The covenant ends forever. No more blood tribute, no more fear. Lucian steps forward, extending his gloved hand. You have my word, sealed by the old magic. Ashford Ridge is free from this night forward. The covenant is broken, but know this. A deal with a vampire is binding. Absolutely. If you agree to 7 years, you cannot leave before the term is complete. If you try, the magic will kill you. If you voluntarily break the agreement, your village returns to the covenant immediately. Do you understand? I understand, Elena says. She takes his hand the moment their palms touch. Even through his glove, she feels it. A shock like lightning, a burn like ice. Magic seals around her wrist, invisible but present. A silver band appears, glowing briefly before fading to a faint shimmer only she can see. It is done, Lucian says. Welcome to Thornwood Estate, Elena Morrison. You belong to me for 7 years and I to you. The words send a shiver through Elena. What does that mean, you to me? The bond works both ways, Marcus interjects. He sounds almost amused. The Alpha cannot harm you, nor can he allow others to. Your life is tied to his. Now if you die, he feels your death as if it were his own. Elena looks at Lucian in shock. Why would you agree to that? Because a deal must be equal, Lucian says. You give me 7 years, I give you my protection, absolutely. Now come, it's late and you've had an exhausting night. Tomorrow your education begins. Elena follows him to the room that will be hers. At the door she pauses. One more question. What happened to your other companions? The ones before Catherine, do they all leave after their terms? Some do, Lucian says. Some choose to stay longer. One stayed until her natural death at 70, 40 years beyond her contract. I gave her a funeral in my chapel and mourned her for a decade. We each have our own reasons for our choices, Miss Morrison. In time you'll understand yours. He leaves her at the door. Elena enters her beautiful cage and closes the door. She walks to the window, looking out at the glowing gardens and dark forest beyond. In the village, her father will be waiting, not knowing if she's alive or dead. Tomorrow she'll write to him, tell him she's safe, that she made a deal, that the village is free. But tonight she allows herself to feel the weight of what she's done. 7 years, in a vampire's mansion, with a lonely alpha who somehow seems more human than monster. Elena doesn't sleep that first night. She explores her room, finding that the bookshelves are already filled with volumes in her native language, philosophy, poetry, history, science. Someone prepared this room for her, anticipating her arrival. The writing desk has fine paper, ink, and pens. She sits and begins a letter to her father. Dear Papa, I am alive and safe. I've made an arrangement that saves Ashford Ridge forever. The covenant is broken, no more blood tribute will ever be required. I cannot return for 7 years, but I am treated well. Do not mourn me. I am learning and growing in ways I never imagined. Trust that this was my choice, made freely. I love you always, Elena. She seals the letter just as dawn light creeps through her window, except it's impossible. The mansion is deep in a forest where no sunlight penetrates. Yet here it is, golden morning light making the room glow. A knock at the door startles her. Come in, she calls. A young woman enters carrying a tray with breakfast. She has dark skin, kind eyes, and a smile that seems genuine. Good morning, Miss Morrison. I'm Iris. I'll be attending to you during your stay. She sets the tray down, fresh bread, butter, jam, tea, fruit. Elena stares at her. You're human, Iris laughs. I am. There are 5 of us who work here. We choose to stay. The Alpha pays exceptionally well, and life here is safer than most places in the world. How long have you been here? Elena asks. 15 years, Iris says. I was 17 when I arrived, running from a marriage I didn't want. Lord Thorne offered me sanctuary and work. I've never regretted it, but you can't leave, not without permission, Iris admits. But I don't want to. Where else would a woman like me find such freedom? I read the Alpha's books. I eat the finest food. I have a room nicer than any noble's, and I'm never afraid. That's worth more than freedom to wander after Iris leaves. Elena eats breakfast and bathes in the enormous copper tub. She finds clothes in the wardrobe that fit perfectly. Day dresses in deep colors, riding habits, even a few evening gowns. Everything is finer than anything she's ever owned. She dresses in a simple green dress and ventures out of her room. The mansion by day is different than at night. Sunlight streams through windows, making the impossible architecture seem almost normal. Elena follows the sounds of piano music back to the library. Lucian sits at the piano playing a complex piece she doesn't recognize. He's changed clothes, now wearing more modern trousers and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. It's the first time she's seen him in anything less than full formal dress. He looks younger somehow, less like a monster and more like a man. Good morning, he says without stopping his playing. Did you sleep? No, Elena admits. I was too restless. Understandable, Lucian says. He finishes the piece with a flourish. You'll adjust in time. The mansion has a way of making one feel safe, even when logic says you shouldn't. He stands. Come, I'll show you the library properly. Today we begin your education. Over the next weeks, Elena falls into a routine. Mornings are spent in the library with Lucian, where he teaches her languages: Latin, Greek, French, Italian. He's a patient teacher, never mocking her mistakes, always encouraging her progress. Afternoon she spends reading, absorbing knowledge at a pace that would have been impossible in her old life. Evening she dines with Lucian in the great hall. They eat real food. He doesn't need it, but he enjoys the ritual. And they talk about everything: philosophy, art, history, science, politics, ethics. Lucian has lived through centuries, witnessed empires rise and fall, met people whose names are now in history books. His stories are mesmerizing. But more than that, Elena realizes he's lonely in a way that's almost painful to witness. 400 years of existence with no one to truly understand him. One evening, about a month into her stay, Elena asks the question that's been bothering her. How did you become a vampire? Lucian sets down his wine glass. That's a long story. We have time, Elena says. 7 years of it. Lucian is quiet for a long moment. Then he begins. I was born in Scotland in 1623, son of a minor lord, third in line for the title. I studied at university, traveled Europe, lived a life of a gentleman scholar. I was 28 when I encountered her. Elena leans forward. The vampire who made me, Lucian says. Her name was Morgana. She was ancient even then, over 1,000 years old. Beautiful and terrible. She collected interesting humans, kept them for decades before turning them or releasing them. I caught her attention at a salon in Paris. She said I had the mind of an immortal trapped in a mortal body. What happened? Morgana courted me for a year, Lucian continues, showed me her world, promised me eternity, knowledge, power. I was arrogant enough to think I could handle it. Foolish enough to agree. She turned me on the winter solstice of 1651. The transformation took 3 days of agony. When I woke, I was no longer human, but I was also no longer hers to control. The magic that changed me also cursed me. I could not be bound by another vampire's will. I was alpha from my first moment of immortality. Is that unusual? Elena asks. Extremely. Lucian says most new vampires are thralls for decades, bound to their maker. I was free immediately. Morgana was furious. She tried to destroy me, but she couldn't. The curse that freed me also protected me. We fought for 10 years before she finally left, swearing she'd never create another like me. As far as I know, she never did. And you came here to this forest. Lucian nods. I built Thornwood Estate in 1670. The forest was already full of ancient magic. I bound myself to it, created the covenant with the local villages for blood. I've been here ever since, 3.5 centuries in the same place. Don't you ever want to leave? Elena asks. See the world again every day? Lucian admits. But I'm afraid. Afraid? He smiles sadly. When you live as long as I have, you watch everyone you care about die. Friends, lovers, companions, they all turn to dust while you remain unchanging. It's easier to stay in one place to limit your attachments. The world changes without me and I remain constant. It's a different kind of death, but at least it's one I control. Elena feels that unexpected sympathy again. Stronger now. That's not living. That's just existing. Lucian looks at her with those silver eyes. Perhaps, but I've forgotten how to do anything else. You could learn again, Elena says. You're teaching me languages and history. Maybe I can teach you how to live. The vampire lord laughs a real laugh. Warm and surprise. That's the most presumptuous thing anyone. Say it to me in a century. I like it. Months pass. Elena learns Latin and French, reads philosophy and science, explores the impossible mansion. She writes monthly letters to her father, and receives replies that Lucian delivers personally. Thomas Morrison writes that the village is thriving without the tribute. People are healthier. Children play in the fields without fear. The burden of 300 years has lifted. But he also writes that he misses his daughter desperately, that the house feels empty without her, that he prays every night for her safe return. Elena cries reading those letters. Lucian finds her in the library, tears streaming down her face. Would you like to visit him? The Alpha asks gently. It's within the bounds of the agreement. We could arrange one night under guard. Elena wipes her eyes. No, that would make it harder. 7 years will pass. I made my choice. Lucian sits beside her. For what it's worth, your sacrifice saved hundreds of lives. And you're not suffering here, are you? Elena looks at him. That's the strange part. I'm not suffering at all. I'm learning more than I ever could have in the village. I'm safe and fed and challenged intellectually. Sometimes I feel guilty for being happy here. Don't, Lucian says. Happiness is rare enough in any life. When you find it, accept it as grace. Even here, Elena asks. Even in a vampire's mansion, especially here, Lucian says. Beauty can exist anywhere. Joy can bloom in darkness. Don't let guilt poison what's good. As winter approaches, Elena has been at Thornwood Estate for 6 months. She's fluent in Latin now, conversational in French and Italian. She's read hundreds of books and she's developed something she never expected. Friendship with Lucian. They spend hours debating philosophy, discussing books, playing chess. He tells her stories of his long life. She tells him about her dreams of what she'll do after the 7 years end. One evening they're in the music room. Lucian plays piano while Elena reads by the fire. It's comfortable, domestic almost. Do you play? Lucian asks suddenly. What? Any instrument? I never learned, Elena admits. My mother died before she could teach me. Lucian stands. Come here, I'll teach you. Elena sits at the piano bench beside him. He guides her hands to the keys, showing her a simple melody. His touch is cold but gentle, patient. When she makes mistakes, he just smiles and shows her again. After an hour, she can play a basic song. I did it. Elena laughs, delighted. You're a natural, Lucian says. We'll make a pianist of you yet. In this moment, with his eyes warm and his smile genuine, Elena forgets he's a vampire. He's just Lucian, her teacher, her friend, her companion in this strange exile. The next morning, Elena wakes to find snow falling outside her window. Impossible snow, since the mansion exists in eternal night forest. But there it is, perfect white flakes drifting down. She dresses quickly and runs outside. The gardens are transformed. Everything is covered in pristine white. Elena spins in circles laughing, catching snowflakes on her tongue like she did as a child. She doesn't hear Lucian approach until he speaks. It's beautiful, isn't it? She turns. He's standing in the snow without coat or hat, apparently immune to cold. I thought you'd enjoy it. You made it snow, Elena asks in wonder. The mansion bends to my will in small ways, Lucian says. You seemed melancholy yesterday. I thought winter might cheer you. It's the first time Elena truly understands the extent of his power. He can manipulate reality itself within these grounds. He could have made her life here miserable if he wanted. Instead, he made it snow because she was sad. That kindness undoes something in her chest. She doesn't know what to call the feeling, but it's dangerous. Thank you, she says softly. They walk through the snowy gardens together. Lucian points out plants that shouldn't exist, flowers that bloom in colors nature never intended. Elena asks questions about everything, and he answers with the patience of someone who has all the time in the world. Because he does. He has eternity while she has 7 years, then a mortal life beyond these walls. It's strange, Elena says eventually. I came here thinking of you as a monster. But you're not, are you? You're just alone. Lucian stops walking. Don't romanticize what I am. I'm a predator, Elena. I've killed humans. I drink blood to survive. The fact that I can be civil doesn't erase what I am. But you don't have to kill. Elena presses. You could take blood without killing. Lucian's expression hardens. I did that for the first 50 years, took just enough to survive, left my victims alive. Do you know what happened? They died anyway, from infections, from the trauma, from the scars that marked them as vampire prey, making them targets for other creatures. I learned that mercy in half measures is just prolonged cruelty. So you kill quickly, instead cleanly. I take criminals. Lucian says murderers, rapists, those who prey on the innocent. I've made myself judge, jury, and executioner. It's still monstrous, but at least it's purposeful. Elena absorbs this. She should be horrified. But instead she understands, in a world without justice, he's created his own. However twisted the method, there's a logic to it. You're not a monster, she says finally. You're just trying to be good in a life that wasn't meant for goodness. Lucian looks at her with something like wonder. How do you do that? Do what? See me so clearly. Elena shrugs. Maybe because I'm not afraid anymore. Fear makes monsters of everything. When you look past it, you see what's really there. They return to the mansion as the impossible snow continues to fall. That night, Elena writes to her father about the snow, about her studies, about her strange life. She doesn't mention the growing warmth she feels toward her captor. That's something she's not ready to examine yet. Winter deepens. Elena has been at Thornawood for 8 months. She's reading ancient texts now, works in languages few living humans can decipher. Lucian pushes her intellectually, but never beyond what she can handle. He seems to instinctively know when she's frustrated or tired, always backing off before she breaks. One evening, Marcus appears at dinner. It's the first time Elena's seen him since her arrival night. He's come to report to Lucian about something in the forest, territorial disputes with a werewolf pack to the north. Werewolves are real, Elena interrupts. Marcus grins. As real as vampires and twice as temperamental. They want to expand their hunting grounds into our forest. It's a problem. Not our problem, Lucian says calmly. Let them have the northern section, we don't use it. But Alpha, it's a matter of respect, Marcus protests. If we give ground, we're not giving ground, Lucian interrupts. We're choosing not to start a war over territory we don't need. There's a difference. Marcus looks frustrated but nods. As you wish, he leaves, but not before giving Elena a curious look. After he's gone, Elena asks, why did you do that? Give up the territory because war is pointless when you're immortal. Lucian says, you can't win, you just accumulate centuries of enemies and grudges. Better to compromise when possible. Save your strength for battles that matter. What battles matter to you? Elena asks. This one, Lucian says, gesturing between them. Keeping you interested for 7 years, that's a challenge worthy of my attention. Elena laughs. I'm not that difficult to entertain, you're more challenging than you know, Lucian says seriously. You ask questions no one's asked me in centuries. You see through my pretenses. You make me think about things I'd forgotten to consider. It's refreshing. As winter turns to spring, Elena's been at Thornawood for almost a year. She marks the anniversary by learning to play Furpis on the piano, a Mozart sonata. Lucian arranges a concert of sorts. Iris and the other human staff attend. Marcus and several vampires of the Cub and Come. Elena plays in the music room, her fingers flowing over the keys like water. When she finishes, there's genuine applause. She's blushing, pleased, and embarrassed. Lucian approaches with a wrapped package for your first year, a gift to mark the occasion. Elena opens it. Inside is a leather-bound journal, the pages blank, ready for her thoughts, and a pen, beautiful silver with her initials engraved, for your stories. Lucian says, you have thoughts worth recording. Elena feels tears prick her eyes. No one's ever given her a gift like this before. Thank you. That night Elena begins writing not a diary exactly, but observations, thoughts about her strange life. Philosophical questions Lucian has raised, stories from his long existence that she wants to preserve. She writes until dawn, filling page after page. Days blur into weeks. Elena's second year at Thornwood begins. She's changed visibly, more confident, more educated, more worldly. She debates Lucian as an equal now, their conversations ranging from ancient philosophy to modern science. One afternoon they're in the observatory. Lucian is showing her constellations through his impossible telescope. This star died 1,000 years ago, he says, pointing, but its light is still reaching us. We're seeing a ghost, essentially, a memory of something that no longer exists. Like you, Elena says without thinking, then immediately regrets it. I'm sorry, that was no, Lucian says quietly. You're right, I am a ghost. The man I was died in 1651. What remains is just an echo, repeating the same patterns for centuries. Elena turns from the telescope to face him. You're more than that, you're changing. Even in the year I've known you, you've changed. Lucian looks at her with those silver eyes. Because of you. You remind me what it was like to be curious, to be alive in ways that have nothing to do with blood or immortality. The air between them feels charged suddenly. Elena realizes how close they're standing, how easy it would be to close the distance, how much she wants to. She steps back, breaking the moment. Tell me more about the stars. Lucian blinks, then turns back to the telescope. But something has shifted between them. They both feel it. The next morning, Elena receives a letter from her father. The news isn't good, he's ill. Nothing serious yet, but his heart is weak. The village doctor says he needs rest. Elena clutches the letter, feeling helpless. I need to see him, she tells Lucian. I know we agreed I'd stay here, but go, Lucian says immediately. The bond allows for emergency visits. Marcus will escort you. You can spend 3 days. Elena looks at him in surprise. Just like that, Lucian says. Your father is ill. Nothing else matters. Elena throws her arms around him without thinking. Thank you. Lucian stiffens in surprise, then slowly returns the embrace. His arms are cold but gentle. When she pulls back, both of them are confused by the gesture's intimacy. Marcus arrives within the hour. He and Elena ride to Ashford Ridge in a carriage that moves impossibly fast. They arrive at sunset and Elena runs to her father's house. Thomas Morrison is in bed, looking frailer than Elena remembers, but when he sees her, his face lights up. Elena, my girl, they embrace, both crying. Papa, I've missed you so much. Let me look at you, Thomas says, holding her at arm's length. You're so different, more grown, more radiant. Is he treating you well, the vampire? Better than well, Elena admits. He's teaching me everything, Papa. Languages and music and philosophy. I'm learning so much, but are you happy? Thomas asks. That's all I need to know. Elena considers the question. Am I happy? It's complicated. I miss home. I miss you. But yes, Papa, I'm happy there too. Is that terrible? Thomas cups her face with his weathered hand. It's not terrible. It's human. We can hold two truths at once, missing what was and appreciating what is. Elena stays 3 days exactly as allowed. She helps around the house, cooks her father's favorite meals, talks with him for hours. The village has indeed thrived without the tribute. New families have moved in. Children play freely. The shadow of fear that hung over Ashford Ridge for centuries has lifted. Mayor Foster visits on the second day. He's effusive with thanks. Miss Morrison, you saved us all. We're eternally grateful when you return. There will be a place of honor for you here. I'm not sure I'll be able to stay, Elena admits. After 7 years with Lucian, I may not fit here anymore. That's what he warned me. The mayor frowns. He's changing you, turning you into one of them. No, Elena says firmly. He's educating me. There's a difference. I'm still human. Still me, just more than I was. On the third day, Elena must leave. She hugs her father goodbye, both of them crying again. I'll write every month, she promises, and I'll visit when I can. Take care of yourself. I will, Thomas says. And Elena, you have my blessing, whatever happens between you and that vampire. If he makes you happy, if he treats you with respect, then he has my approval. Elena rides back to Thornwood with Marcus, processing her father's words. He saw through her. Saw the growing attachment she's barely admitted to herself. As they approach the mansion, Elena asks Marcus, how does one stop from falling for an immortal? Marcus laughs darkly. One doesn't. That's the tragedy of being human near vampires. We're magnetic by nature, our age, our power, our mystery. It's intoxicating to mortals. But Elena, a word of advice. Lucian is more dangerous than you know, not to your body but to your heart. When you leave here, it will destroy something in both of you. I've seen it before. Will he try to make me stay? Elena asks. No, Marcus says that's what makes it worse. He'll let you go because he gave his word, and you'll walk away because you have a life waiting. But you'll both be diminished by it. That's the price of this bargain neither of you anticipated. When Elena enters the mansion, Lucian is waiting in the entrance hall. He looks anxious, though he tries to hide it. How is your father? Better now that I've seen him, Elena says. Thank you for letting me go. Of course, Lucian says, but something in his voice sounds strained. Are you well? I'm well, Elena says. Just tired from the journey and thoughtful about how much I've changed, Elena admits. How different I am from the girl who walked into your forest a year ago. Is that good or bad? Lucian asks quietly. I don't know yet, Elena says honestly. They stand in the entrance hall, the space between them feeling vast despite only being a few feet. Elena knows she should go to her room rest. Instead, she asks, why did you really agree to this arrangement? The truth, Lucian is quiet for a long moment. Then because I was tired, 400 years of the same existence, the same patterns, the same loneliness when you walked into my forest demanding to negotiate. You were the first interesting thing to happen to me in a century. I thought 7 years of conversation would ease the burden of eternity. I didn't expect what Lucian meets her eyes to care whether you were happy. That's not part of our bargain, but I find myself caring anyway. Elena's heart hammers in her chest. I care too about you more than I should. They stare at each other, the truth finally spoken aloud. This changes things, Lucian says. It doesn't have to. Elena says, though she knows it's a lie, we can still be friends. Teacher and student, that's all this needs to be. Lucian nods slowly, of course. That's all it can be. You're human, I'm not. You have a life to return to. I have eternity to continue alone. But neither of them believes it anymore. The year continues. Elena's second year at Thornwood deepens both her education and the unspoken tension between her and Lucian. They avoid being alone together as much as possible. Lessons happen with Iris present. Dinners include Marcus or other vampires. The easy intimacy they once shared becomes carefully guarded. But the bond between them only grows stronger for the distance they try to maintain. Spring turns to summer. Elena learns to ride the horses in Lucian's stables, magnificent creatures that seem half-mortal. Half-dream, she explores the forest with Marcus as guide, discovering the extent of Lucian's domain. It's vast, full of magical creatures and impossible wonders. One evening, Elena encounters a woman in the garden she hasn't seen before. The woman is stunningly beautiful with silver blonde hair and eyes that shift colors. She's clearly not human. You must be the human companion, the woman says. I'm Serafina. I've heard much about you. Elena curtsies instinctively. Are you part of the coven? Serafina laughs. No, darling, I'm Faye. I live in the forest and occasionally visit the Alpha for chess and conversation. We've known each other for 300 years. She studies Elena with unsettling intensity. You're the one who's captivated him. The first in all the time I've known him to make Lucian feel anything beyond polite interest. I haven't captivated him, Elena protests. Just don't insult my intelligence, Serafina interrupts. I can see the bond between you. It's written in silver light, visible to those with eyes to see. You're changing each other. The question is whether you'll have the courage to acknowledge it before your time runs out. Before Elena can respond, Serafina disappears in a shimmer of light. Elena stands in the garden, shaken. Can others really see the connection between her and Lucian? Is it that obvious? That night she can't sleep. She wanders the mansion's halls, ending up at the music room. Lucian is there, as she somehow knew he would be. He's playing piano, a melancholy piece that makes her heart ache. I'm sorry, Elena says. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not interrupting, Lucian says. I was just playing to fill the silence. It's louder than usual tonight. Elena sits in a chair near the piano. What's wrong? Lucian's hand still on the keys. You're what's wrong. You've disrupted 400 years of careful equilibrium. You've made me remember what it feels like to want things beyond survival. And I don't know how to put that back in its box. I didn't mean to. I know, Lucian interrupts. That's what makes it worse. You've done nothing but be yourself, brilliant and curious and alive in ways that make the centuries of my existence feel like shadows. I don't blame you, Elena. I blame myself for forgetting the first rule of immortality. Never get attached to what you cannot keep. What if you could keep it? Elena asks, her heart racing. What if I chose to stay beyond 7 years? Lucian stands abruptly. No, that path leads to darkness. I've seen it before. Humans who stay too long, who try to build lives with vampires, it always ends in tragedy. Either they grow old and die while we remain young, or they beg to be turned, and I can't turn them. The curse prevents it. Better to honor the agreement and part while both of us can still walk away. But I don't want to walk away, Elena admits. The words hang in the air between them. Lucian looks at her with such longing and pain that Elena feels it like a physical blow. Neither do I, he says quietly. God help me, neither do I. But we must. You deserve a human life. Children growing old with someone who can give you everything. I can't. I don't want children, Elena says. I don't want to grow old in a village that feels too small now. I want this life, this mansion, these books and conversations and impossible wonders. I want you. Lucian crosses the room to her, moving with vampiric speed. He stops inches away, not touching. Elena Morrison, if you were anyone else, I would take what you're offering without hesitation. But you matter too much, your happiness matters too much. I won't trap you in my eternity, no matter how desperately I want to prove it. Elena says, prove you care about my happiness more than your own desires. Kiss me then, tell me to leave. If you can do both, I'll believe you. It's a gamble. Elena knows it, but she's all in now, past the point of self-preservation. Lucian stares at her, then slowly he cups her face in his cold hands. His touch is gentle, reverent. When he kisses her, the world stops. The kiss is nothing like Elena expected. It's not cold or dead or monstrous. It's passionate and alive and desperate, with centuries of loneliness finding sudden relief. Elena kisses him back with equal fervor, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. They kiss like drowning people finding air, like the starved finding feast, like the lost finding home. When they finally break apart, both are shaking. Lucian rests his forehead against hers. I can't tell you to leave, he admits. I'm not strong enough, I can stay. Elena whispers, 5 more years, that's all the agreement requires, but what if I want to stay longer? What if I want to stay forever? Then I would give you forever, Lucian says. But Elena, you must understand what that means. A life here is a life apart from humanity. You'll watch your father age and die. Your friends will grow old while you remain as you are now. The world will change and you'll be caught between 2 existences. I know, Elena says. I've thought about it. I'm choosing this anyway. I'm choosing you. Lucian kisses her again, and this time there's no holding back. Months of tension and denial pour into the kiss. When he finally pulls away, his silver eyes are bright with something Elena's never seen before. Hope we should be sensible about this, he says, though he makes no move to let her go. Take time to be sure, I am sure. Elena says, but if it makes you feel better, we can wait. Court properly, see if this feeling lasts beyond the first rush. Lucian laughs, and it's a beautiful sound. I'm 400 years old, I don't rush into things, but courting you properly sounds perfect. So begins the strangest courtship imaginable. Lucian woos Elena with all the romance of 4 centuries of experience. He leaves flowers in her room, impossible blooms that glow in darkness. He writes her poetry in languages both dead and living. He plays her songs on the piano at midnight. He takes her flying, holding her in his arms as he defies gravity, showing her the forest from above. Elena responds by making him laugh. She challenges him at chess and occasionally wins. She asks him questions no one's dared ask in centuries, making him think in new ways. She teaches him what she's learning from his own books, showing him perspectives he's forgotten. They're careful not to let the physical relationship progress too quickly. The kisses remain, but both know there's a line they shouldn't cross yet. Not until Elena's choice is final and irrevocable. The other residents of Thornwood notice the change. Iris smiles knowingly. Marcus shakes his head but doesn't interfere. The Coven vampires keep their opinions to themselves, though some look at Elena with new wariness. She's not just the Alpha's human companion anymore. She's becoming something more. Elena's 2nd year ends and her 3rd begins. She writes to her father less frequently, feeling guilty about it. But what can she say? That she's falling in love with a vampire? That she's considering giving up her human life for an existence in shadow? Thomas writes that he's improving, that the village prospers. He asks when she's coming home. Elena puts off answering. How can she explain that home means something different now? One evening, Serafina returns. She finds Elena and Lucian in the garden, walking hand in hand under impossible stars. The Fey woman smiles. So you stop pretending. Good life's too short even for immortals to waste on denial. Will you tell me my future? Elena asks impulsively. Can Faye do that? Some can, Serafina says. I'm not one of them, but I don't need magic to see where this path leads. She looks at them both seriously. You're bonding, truly bonding, not just emotionally but magically. The silver thread between you grows stronger every day. Soon it will be unbreakable. What does that mean? Elena asks. It means, Serafina says, that if you separate now it will hurt. If you wait another year it will damage you both. And if you wait until the 7 years end it may destroy you. The bond is choosing you for each other. You can fight it, but fighting will only make the inevitable more painful. Can she stay? Lucian asks. Can a human live here indefinitely without aging? Serafina considers there are ways. The mansion exists partly outside normal time. If Elena binds herself to Thornwood as you are bound, she could live here for decades without aging. She would be functionally immortal within these walls, though she'd still be human. Still vulnerable in ways you are not, but she would not die of old age. That's what you want, isn't it? To keep her. Lucian looks at Elena. What I want is for her to have a choice. Real choice, not one forced by magic or time or desperation. Elena, you need to understand what you'd be giving up. The sunlit world, natural aging, the possibility of children, a normal life in every sense. I understand, Elena says, and I choose this. I choose you, I choose Thornwood. I choose the impossible library and the magical garden, and the conversations that span centuries. I choose all of it. Then so be it, Serafina says. She reaches out and touches Elena's forehead. Elena feels something shift inside her. The bond that was forming solidifies, becomes unbreakable. She gasps as power flows through her. When it settles, she feels different. More here, more real, more alive. It's done. Serafina says, you're bound to Thornywood now. To its magic and its master, you'll age slowly here. If at all, you'll share in the estate's protections. But you can never fully leave. Are you content with that choice? I am, Elena says, taking Lucian's hand. For the first time in 400 years, Lucian Thorn smiles without shadows. They marry in the chapel 3 months later. It's a small ceremony, just the coven, the human staff, and a handful of magical creatures who've known Lucian for centuries. Serafina officiates, binding them not by human law but by older magic, Fey law vampire covenant magic, that has lasted since before Rome fell. Elena wears a dress of midnight blue embroidered with silver stars. Lucian wears black velvet with silver buttons. When they exchange vows, the words are simple but weighted with power. I vow to love you until the stars burn out. Lucian says, I vow to choose you every day. Elena responds. The bond between them glows visible for a moment, a silver thread connecting their hearts. Then the moment passes, but the connection remains. They are bound now, as surely as any two beings can be. The celebration lasts 3 days. Music and dancing and feasting. Elena's father couldn't attend. Bringing him into the estate might age him differently, and neither wanted to risk it, but Elena sends him a letter explaining everything. Thomas writes back, if this vampire makes you happy, then you have my blessing. I always knew you were meant for something extraordinary. Just promise to visit me before I die. Elena makes that promise. The next years blur together in a kind of happiness Elena never imagined possible. She continues her education, mastering languages and sciences. She learns vampire history from Lucian. She explores the forest with Marcus as guard. She befriends Serafina and the other magical creatures. She becomes Lady of Thornywood in truth, managing the estate alongside Lucian, and she loves deeply, completely, without reservation. Lucian changes too. The lonely, melancholy vampire who sat at his piano playing sad songs becomes someone more alive. He laughs often. Now he makes plans for the future instead of just enduring eternity. He's kinder to his coven, more engaged with the world beyond his estate. Elena's 4th year becomes her 5th. The original 7-year term is approaching its end. One evening they discuss it. The agreement is almost complete. Lucian says, you've fulfilled your end. I should release you. But you won't, Elena says, because I'm not leaving. She's right. The thought of Elena leaving is unbearable now. The mansion without her would be a tomb again, but guilt still plagues him. I've stolen your life. No, Elena says firmly, you saved it. I was going to waste away in that village, marry some farmer's son, have children I didn't really want, and die never knowing there was more to the world. You showed me more, made me more. I'm grateful. But your father is aging, Lucian presses. Won't you regret not spending his last years with him? Elena's eyes fill with tears. I visit him monthly. It's not enough, but it's what I can give. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I feel guilty, but I also know he wants me to be happy. And I'm happy here with you. Lucian pulls her close. I don't deserve you. Probably not, Elena teases. But you're stuck with me anyway. The 5th year ends. The 6th begins. Elena is now 29 years old, though she looks barely older than when she arrived. The estate's magic is working, slowing her aging to a crawl. At this rate, she'll look 30 for the next 50 years. Thomas Morrison dies in Elena's 6th year. She's with him at the end, holding his hand in his bedroom in Ashford Ridge. Papa, I'm here, she whispers. Elena, his voice is weak. Are you happy? So happy, Elena says through tears. Good, Thomas says. That's all a father needs to know. Be happy, my girl. Be extraordinary. Don't waste a moment of this strange, wonderful life you've chosen. He dies peacefully, a smile on his face. Elena buries him in Ashford Ridge's cemetery. The whole village attends, honoring both the man and his daughter who saved them all. Elena cries on Lucian's shoulder for 3 days. When the grief finally eases, she feels unmoored. Her last tie to her human life is gone. Now she belongs fully to Thornywood. To Lucian, to this magical existence, is that freedom or captivity she no longer knows. Maybe it's both. The 6th year becomes the 7th. Elena marks the anniversary of her arrival with a kind of wonder. 7 years, the original term of her agreement. She's fulfilled every part of the bargain. The covenant with Ashford Ridge is broken forever. The village thrives, and she's become something neither fully human nor vampire, something in between, a bridge between worlds. You could leave now, Lucian says on the anniversary night. You've more than fulfilled the agreement. The bond allows it. You'd age normally again. Once you left the estate, you could have a human life still, decades of it. Elena looks at him in surprise. Why would I leave? Because I worry, Lucian admits, that I've taken too much from you, that you'll wake up one day and realize all you've lost. Then I'll tell you the same thing I tell myself, Elena says. Look at all I've gained. She takes his hands. Lucian, in these 7 years I've learned 8 languages. I've read thousands of books. I've seen magic that most humans die never knowing exists. I've loved and been loved in return. How is that a loss? But you'll watch everyone you knew die, Lucian says. Everyone but me, and you'll still be young when I'm ancient. I don't age here, Elena reminds him. The bond prevents it. So we have time, decades, maybe centuries if the magic holds. Isn't that enough for me? It is. Is it enough for you? Lucian kisses her. More than enough. I just needed to know you chose this freely. No regrets? No regrets, Elena confirms. The 7th year passes, then the 8th. The 9th, Elena becomes a fixture at Thornwood, as permanent as the stone walls. She runs the library, organizing Lucian's chaotic collection into a system. She tends the gardens with Iris. She mediates disputes in the coven. She corresponds with scholars around the world, never revealing her true situation but contributing to academic discussions under a pseudonym. She writes books under another name, philosophy and poetry, that slowly gains recognition. She lives a full life, just not a conventional one. Lucian thrives with her beside him. He reconnects with old acquaintances he'd let lapse. He travels occasionally, taking Elena with him. They visit Paris, Rome, Cairo, always at night, always carefully. Elena sees the world through immortal eyes, and it's more beautiful than she ever imagined. The years accumulate. 10 years since Elena first walked into the dark forest. Then 15, then 20. She's 43 years old but looks 25. Lucian hasn't changed at all, still frozen in immortal beauty. But their love has deepened, matured, become something that transcends the physical. They're partners in the truest sense, intellectual equals, emotional anchors for each other. One evening they're in the library. It's been 23 years since Elena's arrival. She's reading a manuscript in ancient Greek when she comes across a passage that makes her stop. Lucian, come look at this. He joins her, reading over her shoulder. It's a Greek poem about Orpheus and Eurydice, but this version is different from the one Elena knows in this telling. Orpheus doesn't look back because he doubts. He looks back because his love is too strong to resist. And yes, he loses Eurydice to the underworld again. But the poem argues that the loss was worth it, better to have loved so deeply that you couldn't help but look, than to have loved cautiously and kept what you held. Do you believe that, Elena asks? That love worth having is worth losing everything for? Lucian is quiet then. I used to think I'd lost everything when I became a vampire. My humanity, my mortality, my future. But you've taught me that loss can lead to something greater. Yes, I believe it. Every choice I've made has cost me something, but you've been worth all of it. Elena closes the book. I want to tell you something I've never said aloud. When I walked into your forest 23 years ago, I was terrified. Not of dying, but of living a life that didn't matter. A small life in a small village, safe but meaningless. You gave me meaning, purpose, a life extraordinary in every way. Thank you for that. Lucian pulls her close. Thank you for choosing to stay, for choosing me, over and over every day for 23 years. You've made eternity bearable, more than bearable, beautiful. They kiss, and it's like the first time and the 1000th time all at once, familiar and exciting, comfortable and passionate. This is love that's been tested by time and grown stronger for it. That night they make love in Lucian's chamber. It's not the first time they've been intimate for years, but something about tonight feels significant, final in a way, like a seal on a vow. Afterward, lying in the dark, Elena asks, what happens when I die? Even with the estate's magic, I'm still mortal. Someday my body will fail. Then I grieve, Lucian says quietly, and I continue as I've always continued. But you'll have filled a significant portion of my eternity with happiness. That's more than most immortals ever get. Will you take another companion after me? I can't imagine it, Lucian admits. But ask me again in 100 years, maybe time will change my answer. I hope it does, Elena says. I hope you find others who make you laugh, who challenge you, who keep the loneliness at bay. Don't mourn me forever, Lucian, live. He kisses her forehead. I'll try. The years continue. 25, 30, 35. Elena has now been at Thornwood longer than she lived in Ashford Ridge. This is her home, her life, her world. She's written a dozen books under pseudonyms. She's friends with magical creatures from across the globe. She's become a legend in certain circles. The human who live is with the alpha vampire and has survived decades. Some think she's been turned. Others think she's under a spell. Neither is true. She's just chosen this life over and over every day. Her body is aging now despite the estate's magic, not rapidly but noticeably. At 50, she has a few gray hairs. At 55, lines at her eyes and mouth. At 60, she moves a little slower. Lucian loves her at every stage. The silver in her hair makes her look distinguished. The lines on her face map the smiles they've shared. Her slower movements just mean he has excuse to catch her more often, to hold her close. One evening, when Elena is 63, she collapses in the library. Lucian finds her unconscious among the books. His roar of anguish shakes the mansion. He carries her to her room, their room now. They've shared a bed for decades. Iris and the other humans call for doctors. Marcus brings a healer from the Fey realm. They work for hours. When Elena wakes, she's weak but alive. What happened? She asks. Your heart, the Fafi healer says gently. It's strained. You've lived many years with the estate. Magic supporting you, but that magic can only do so much. Your mortal body is failing. How long? Elena asks. Years, possibly with care, the healer says, but decades, I'm afraid not. Lucian holds Elena's hand, his face a mask of control, but Elena can see the devastation in his silver eyes. After the healer leaves, they're alone. I'm sorry, Elena whispers. Don't, Lucian says. Don't apologize for being mortal. I've had you for 38 years, that's more than I ever hoped for. I'm not ready to go, Elena admits. There's so much more I want to read, so much more I want to see, so much more time I want with you. I know, Lucian says, but we'll make the most of what remains. I promise you that. Elena's last years are bittersweet. She can't do as much physically, no more exploring the forest, no more traveling, but her mind remains sharp. She and Lucian spend hours in conversation, discussing everything from philosophy to poetry. She writes her final book, a memoir of sorts, though she changes names and details. It's the story of a woman who chose an impossible love and never regretted it. When she's 67, Elena has another collapse. This time she doesn't wake from it for 3 days. When she finally opens her eyes, Lucian is beside her bed. He looks wrecked, as close to broken as Elena's ever seen him. Hi, she whispers. Hi, he responds, taking her hand. How do you feel? Tired? Elena admits. So tired, the healers say it won't be long now. Lucian says days, maybe a week. I'm sorry, my love, I'm not. Elena says, I got 40 years with you, 40 years of magic and wonder and love. How many people get that? Not many. Promise me something, Elena says. Promise you'll live after I'm gone. Really live, not just exist. Find others to care about. Fill this mansion with life and laughter again. Don't let my death make you the lonely vampire you were before. Lucian's control breaks. He presses his forehead to her hand and Elena feels wetness on her skin, tears. She didn't know vampires could cry. I'll try, Lucian says, for you, I'll try. Elena dies 3 days later with Lucian holding her hand. Her last words are, it was worth it. All of it, every moment, I love you. Then she's gone. Lucian holds her body for hours, not accepting that she's truly dead. But finally, Marcus gently takes him away. They prepare Elena for burial in Thornwood's chapel. The funeral is attended by hundreds, vampires, fae, magical creatures from across the world. All come to pay respects to the human woman who captured an alpha's heart and held it for 40 years. They bury her in the garden she loved under the impossible roses. Lucian stands at the grave until dawn, until the magical protections of the estate force him inside. Then he goes to the library and plays the piano. The same melancholy piece he was playing the night Elena found him 40 years before. Time passes, years blur into decades. Lucian keeps his promise. He doesn't retreat into isolation. He continues to take companions, not lovers but friends, students, people who need sanctuary and education. He gives them what Elena gave him, purpose, meaning, a reason to continue. But none of them are her. None of them make him feel the way Elena did. 100 years after Elena's death, Lucian stands at her grave. He's kept the garden immaculate, the roses always blooming. He speaks to her marker as if she can hear. I kept my promise, he says. I've lived. I've helped others. I found moments of joy, but I want you to know you were the best thing that ever happened to me. In 400 years before you and 100 after, no one has ever mattered the way you did. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for 40 years of happiness. I'll carry them with me for eternity. He places fresh roses on her grave. Then he walks back to the mansion to continue his endless existence. But he's not the same vampire who sat in darkness waiting for death that would never come. Elena changed him, taught him how to live, even in immortality, and that gift will last as long as he does forever. 200 years after Elena's death, a young woman walks into the dark forest. She's running from a forced marriage, desperate and scared. She's heard stories about the vampire who lives in these woods, stories that say he's dangerous but fair, that he helps those who have nowhere else to turn. She finds the mansion at the forest's heart, knocks on the door with trembling hands. Lucian answers. He's still beautiful, still ageless, still bearing the weight of centuries, but there's something gentle in his silver eyes now, something that wasn't there 500 years ago. Please, the woman says, I need help. I have nothing to offer but my service. I'll work for you if you'll just let me stay. I can't go back. Lucian studies her. She reminds him just slightly of Elena, not in looks, but in the desperation mixed with determination. The courage to seek help from a monster because the human world has failed her. What's your name? He asks. Sophie, she says. Sophie Chen. Well, Sophie Chen, Lucian says, stepping aside. Come in, we'll find you a place here, and we'll make sure whoever is hunting you never finds you. Sophie enters, and as the door closes behind her, Lucian feels something he hasn't felt in decades. Not love, that kind of love was Elena's alone, but purpose, the need to help, to teach, to give someone a chance at a better life. Elena's legacy continues because she taught him that immortality isn't about enduring forever. It's about making each moment matter, each person you help, each life you touch. In saving Ashford Ridge, Elena saved Lucian too, saved him from the worst kind of death, the death of caring. And now, centuries later, he continues her work, offering sanctuary, teaching, giving others the gift she gave him, a life that matters. That's Elena's true immortality, not in the body that died at 67, but in the impact she had on an ancient vampire who learned how to love again. Some legacies last longer than any lifetime. Hers is eternal. Did you enjoy this story? Do you think Elena made the right choice staying with Lucian? Would you have done the same in her place? Tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. We want to know how far this story has reached. And don't forget, if you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any incredible stories. Until the next story.